when it comes to how we already viewed these teams, I'm curious, like, if we were to put all of these teams that lost by 10 or more in week one into two baskets, one basket is the really bad teams that lost no matter who they were going to face, they were going to lose by 10 or more. And then we're perhaps overreacting, like they covered 9.5 or 8.5 or something ridiculous. That's one bin. The other bin would be like, for instance, the Cincinnati Bengals. We still think that the Bengals can win the Super Bowl. It's just with the combination of context and maybe the Browns defense being a bit of a surprise, they did lose by 10 or more. And now they are favorites against the Ravens. So I'm curious, like, if we put all of these teams that lost by 10 or more into two separate baskets, how did the really bad teams fare? And how did the average to great teams fare in week two? That, to me, I think is a bigger story.
Yep. So we got 8 of them. Let's go through real quick. Houston, bad. Well, it doesn't matter. Indy, they're playing each other. So they both made the list, Houston and Indy. Carolina, expected to be poor, better in the second half. Cincinnati, Super Bowl contender. Which basket do you put Pittsburgh in?
Oh, great question.
I'm likelier to put them in bad. Like, even though, I mean, what was it? You were getting plus money on them to make the playoffs?
Mm-hmm.
You're likelier to be bad than the Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, I think so. Could make the playoff outside chance, probably. A lot of things would have to go right. Seattle?
Well, but that's just it, though, is that, I mean, they're 6-point dogs. That's a number that they could very well cover, but they're likelier to being bad.
Yep.
Yep. Chicago, bad. New York Giants, we think bad.
Yes.
So the good ones was Cincinnati of the 8, right? That was it?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers aren't quite as bad. Somewhere in between what we saw.
In the
like
middle?
I had higher
Probably the same as Seattle.
I mean, I was just about to say that. Like, Seattle's
those
probably
two
in that.
teams, questions, but bad. Bad, but questions.
But yes, to Ed's overall point, he's probably right. That the teams that we expect to be pretty good or in that lean that way, let's say above 500, they probably covered an even higher clip. Like Carolina lose by double digits. Do we need to run and back them? Bears lose by double digits. Do we need to run and back them? Same with the Giants. I don't know. Maybe. See, those are a couple of different scenarios. Most of these scenarios, they're a dog. Giants, because of their situation, sizable favorite. Bengals favorite by more than a field goal.
Probably going to laugh out loud at the end of this answer, but I'll start off with this. You mentioned some guys that aren't particularly mean. What about Kyle Brandt and Jarrett Payton also calling out Chase Claypool?
Yes.
When you have Walter Payton's kid, who's like a figurehead of the franchise, saying they should leave you, in Tampa Bay and not let you get on the plane if you play like that again, that's pretty hard to accomplish. But, also JT O'Sullivan, the QB school, had a full hour video. Like you said, what are they trying to accomplish on offense? What is this play call? What is the protection? What are they doing? I watched the film as well. The 2nd and 4 play on the goal line is one of the worst play calls I've seen. I don't know. I've been watching film for 3 years now. I didn't know what the plan was on the drop back. All of that said, I kind of like Chicago +3 this week against Tampa. I am not buying the Buccaneers. Yeah, I know. I told you you're going to laugh. They averaged 3.9 yards per play. They could have lost to Minnesota. Baker was okay, but still had plenty of classic Baker dropbacks where he could have taken a sack or thrown a pick. I just think it, went from about 1.5 now up to a full field goal. Look, Vita Vea is going to beat the Bears' interior offensive line by himself, but I think Chicago bounces back, finds a way, and I actually do somehow, some way, like them catching a full field goal in Tampa.
2 things. One, T Swift is dirty. Okay. Here's the other takeaway. Yes. Dude, Aaron.
Lightning is going to strike you.
All of these all of these celebrities we're talking about, I mean, just think about it. Come on. And she can't settle down with anybody. It's always like a few months and it's done. Not onto the next one, onto the
True.
next one. For like how long? So I'm thinking that there's a psycho factor we don't know about. So be careful,
no.
Travis Kelce.
It is fair, and I think it will get to 10. I like the Jets if it does. Listen, the thing for me is why I think it's fair is the Jets defense is really good. If they continue to get takeaways, maybe it doesn't matter as much how bad the Jets offense is, but I'm worried about it. I mean, the Cowboys defense looked really good. I think it's going to be a problem for this Jets offense and Zach Wilson. And I don't know. I mean, I'm worried. I'm worried about this Jets offense for sure. So the 10, I mean, we just saw Dallas put up what 40 against the Giants. So yeah, anything's possible against this Jets team. I don't care how good their defense is. If their offense absolutely stinks, which it could, the 10, I think it's interesting. It'll be interesting if it gets there.
I think that we are overblowing this significantly in that I still think that the Jets can cover this number. I am not a fan of Zach Wilson, but I am a fan of realism. When you look at the discrepancy between Aaron Rodgers and Zach Wilson, it's not as big as you might think. Rodgers did not play at an MVP caliber level last year. He did the last couple of times he won the honor. You know, they weren't outlandish honors for him to win. But as far as last year was concerned, Rodgers finished 23rd among qualifying quarterbacks in EPA per play. Zach Wilson was 30th. So this is a drop-off. But it's not like we had expectations for the Jets that they were going to win the Super Bowl to begin with. And Rodgers was on a downtick to begin with. And yes, adding Garrett Wilson and all that stuff was great, but the offensive line was still a big question mark heading into the season. So yes, I think the Jets offensively, yeah, they're worse, but they're not roughly 7 points worse than they were before. The market consistently underrates backup quarterbacks, and Zach Wilson is now officially a backup quarterback. And it is something where we keep wanting to believe that this is the Aaron Rodgers of old, and the Jets were never going to get that to begin with. And so, yes, this is a drop-off, but it's not a drastic drop-off. And to me, I am just fine with where the number is because I'm definitely backing the Jets here. If it does get to 10, though, then I get nervous because everybody else is going to find out the little secret that Zach Wilson is not going to be as much of a detriment as some might believe.